What it do, y'all? She got Bendu coming at y'all with another video today. And yo, the time has finally arrived, yo. We are back with some more Daredevil. Born Again season 2 is here. They hit us with the premiere. So let's go ahead and rap about it. Overall, I like this premiere. I got issues with it, don't get me wrong, but I also think this episode really continues and highlights a lot of what makes Daredevil work when it's really cooking, you know? And this is one of the episodes where I'm sitting there like, yeah, y'all got something here, but at the same time, I'm also seeing like the show still leaving meat on the bone. Pause. And honestly, like, let's just start with the opening, because that was the first thing that really jumped out to me. The opening felt like it was really trying to go for like a Winter Soldier vibe, like specifically the Lumerian Star raid, like when Cap was running around with the shield, taking people out on the ship and all that, and he fought Batroc the Leaper and everything like that. And visually, like, there are aspects of it that I really enjoyed, and some of the shots were cool. The scale is there, and you could feel the budget. But at the same time, I don't think the sequence hit as hard as they thought it was going to. And personally, for me, I think the reason it didn't hit as hard is because this show feels like it's still missing that raw, continuous brutal fight choreography that made the original Netflix series really pop and make what made it so special and endearing to the fans, you know, aside from the character work that they did. But back in the Netflix days, like, the action had this grimy, desperate, like, stop-start rhythm where every hit felt painful. Here, I kept feeling the show was close to that, but not fully committing, you know? It's like, we're gonna give you a little taste of that, but that's it. And it's frustrating because if you blended that old school fight style with the budget and polish that you have now, you could get something truly fucking crazy and epic. Instead, a lot of these fights—
what fucking double D's? Is it?
Scenes feel underseasoned, not trash, not flavorless completely. Like, this ain't some plain chicken cutlets or some shit like that, but it could definitely use more seasoning. Like, if you was to take this to your auntie, be like, yo, auntie, how the chicken come on? Oh, baby, that needs some more seasoning. Like, it's kind of like that. That kind of ties into my other issue, which is the pacing. Now, I do feel, you know, upon a second watch, it is a little bit better, and it's definitely better than parts of last season, but it's still weird. There are scenes in this episode that, to me at least, don't flow naturally into each other. Some moments just pop up and end abruptly, and you can feel the connective tissue missing. Like the BB Urich and Karen scene, I'm sitting there like, okay, Karen said she was meeting a source and she met her source. Did she mean she was meeting two sources? Or, you know, like, why are we here right now? Like, besides to have this character moment, which is a really dope character moment, but why are we here right now? So it's like, okay, sure. And it's, you know, like I said, the scene itself isn't bad, but because the episode doesn't do enough to really smoothly, you know, guide you into it, like, it just feels jarring. And like, it's like, dude, a couple lines of dialogue would have fixed that, you know, to give a clearer transition and really give clarity to what's going on and give that extra thread. And suddenly the scene makes more sense. But that's a lot of the issues in terms of the pacing with the show that I had. And it's like, from an editing and structural standpoint, I still think the show can be clunky, but where it wins me back is in a larger narrative that it's telling, because that part is strong as hell. One thing I'm really digging is how the show is continuing that extremely perilous feeling of dealing with Fisk, yo. Like, that was one of the best things about seasons 1 and 3 of the original show, is like that sense that you can never really beat this guy, yo. Like, it's like a fucking cockroach. He just comes back, but he comes back strong. He's like a Saiyan or like a fucking Viltrumite or some shit like that. Like, this nigga on some Omni-Man shit. He come back just strong as hell. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, yo, you take 2 steps forward just to get knocked back 5 steps. And this episode absolutely keeps that energy alive, bro. Like homie, like, Fisk don't just feel dangerous physically, he feels systemic. He feels like the rot of corruption spreading throughout the whole city. The show is doing a very good job of portraying what a fascist grip on New York will look like, and where Born Again really starts to feel like a comic book in the best possible way. Not comic book as in, you know, the goofy nature how most people think of comics, but comic book as in, you know, political, heightened, sharp, and deeply tied to what's going on in the world. Because if you read, especially comic books from the 80s and, you know, where a lot of Daredevil is being based off of, like, Frank Miller had a lot of political commentary and satire within those comics. And, you know, it really bleeds into the show here, especially, you know, with what's going on in the real world. And that scene with Matt's partner, when she's talking to the DA, that was one of the coldest moments in the episode, because when he basically hits her with that, yo, Shorty, you think the evidence really matter with this shit? Like, dog, that silence where she's just like, yo, homie really just said that. Like that right there is the kind of stuff I love, because it's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's haunting and it really terrifies you all the same still. Like you really understand the situation they in right now, bro. Like, yo, shit real, bro. And that's why, despite my issues with the acting and pacing, I still feel like this show is capturing something special. Like it's taking the best narrative and thematic parts from the Netflix show and amplifying them with a bigger budget and a wider canvas, like I said, aside from some of the action. And like I said, the politics are more front and center, but in a way that feels true to comic books, because comics have always been political. They've always used superheroes and villains, you know, to talk about power, corruption, you know, fear and fascism and what's happening in society at that moment. So when this show leans into Mayor Fisk as a symbol of an authoritarian takeover, that's not the show being extra. That's the show understanding the assignment. That's comic books. Like that's the beauty of the medium. And I loved a lot of the juxtaposition in this episode too. Stuff like the restaurant raid contrasted with BB's report. The way it started to feel almost like political propaganda that the Fisk admin was putting out. But then when you see the flip side of that, when it's like the fuck Fisk or whatever symbols out there and all that, like that stuff was dope. And that's the type of thing that makes the world feel really real in texture. Like, you know, it makes it feel like I'm not just watching a superhero show. I'm watching a story pulled out of the pages of a real comic run and real life in some instances. But yeah. Now I got to talk my talk for a second, because one of my theories, my old theories, is starting to look real interesting right now. Like, yo, I had a whole video planned a while back where I was talking about that port, yo, the free port that Fisk is dealing with. The whole thing Foggy was investigating with his client. And I kept saying, yo, I think Val has something to do with this. Or at the very least, Marvel should somehow connect this into whatever the fuck shady, corrupt shit that Val is doing. And, you know, I was convinced that she was connected to that operation somehow, and that it would eventually, you know, tie into Fisk. Of course, I never put the video out, lazy. So I, you know, oh, homie claiming shit. Nigga, unless we got the receipts, you can't claim it. Look, I know. I'm just saying, when I was watching the show last year, I had this theory, or at least like, it was like wishful thinking. Like, yo, this will be dope if they tied this into Val. And, you know, just lazy YouTube nonsense that I'm always on. But I probably even recorded it and I just never uploaded it. But now my theory is starting to look correct, bro, because I was already right about part of this whole situation. I said Vanessa had something to do with Foggy being assassinated. As we found out last season, that was the case. And, you know, so now my brain is like just spinning. I'm like, yo, I'm wondering if Wilson and Val are working together. And if you really want to get spicy, maybe even Sharon Carter as the power broker is tied into all of this too, as like some, you know, third shady party with their own little shit going on. And if that turns out to be true, could she be part of the reason why, the last part of my theory, that Fisk has the super soldier serum pumping through his veins now? I'm just saying the pieces are there. I'm watching closely because we saw how amplified Fisk was in Hawkeye. Now we haven't really seen that, aside from him crushing, because it's like, dude, a normal guy can't crush somebody's skull like that, bro. Like, he has the super soldier serum in him. And I think that while he has this partnership with Val, I think he also has this partnership with the power broker, i.e. Sharon Carter, you know, as kind of like a backstop against Val, like playing them against each other in a way. So like I said, we're going to be watching this shit closely. But then when we get to that ending, yo, oh my God, dog, that ending. Everything from that final stretch on was like fire. And honestly, that's the best sequence in this episode, outside of the Daredevil Punisher stuff. That might be one of the better action beats, like the fight scene from last season when they were in his apartment and everything like that. He's like, oh, your ass is out. What are you, nightgown man? Like, just whenever Matt and Frank are together, bro, the comedy's there and the ass-kicking fiesta is going to ensue. But that fight scene in Cherry's apartment was fire. But then the reveal, like when they show that, yo, oh shit, that's Matt Murdock. Then pop, pop. I initially, I ain't gonna lie, I was like, yo, that's Bullseye. That's not, because I was watching a couple reaction channels and people were like, yo, is that Frank? I'm like, nah, that's Bullseye, bro. I already knew that was Bullseye. And it's like, yo, Bullseye protecting him, like almost like this twisted guardian angel hovering above the chaos. And that was hard to me. That's the kind of ending that really snaps you back in. It makes you go, okay, I need to see the next episode immediately. And that's the type of time I'm on, y'all. The next episode is coming on tonight and I can't wait, because overall I thought this was a strong premiere with some very obvious flaws. The pacing is still awkward in spots. The action, it hasn't fully captured the rawness of the original show, but the storytelling, the political intrigue, the sense of dread surrounding Fisk's, fascistic takeover, and especially that ending, as I said, all worked for me. As I said, this episode truly felt like a comic come to life, like a real comic book, messy in places maybe, but alive, political, dramatic, and full of ideas. They could tighten up the pacing and really elevate these fight sequences, bro. This season could end up being something really special, but as of right now, I'm in. So with that being said, y'all, what matters most is, what did y'all think of the episode? Hop down in the comment section and let me know. Tell me if I'm tripping with my takes. Tell me if you agree, whatever. Or give me some of y'all theories. What do y'all think is going on? And as always, like, subscribe, tongue twister. Like, subscribe, and share. Emphasis on all that. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Peace. Easy.